at the Movies with Film, right back here, coming at you from my home. I'm going to bring you a very interesting film tonight. Now, you all know the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, or the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, depending on how you pan it out. The Stevenson story has been brought to the screen a number of times. Not more interestingly, though, however, when Edgar Ulmer and Pollux-Fenn, Jack Pollux-Fenn of the Indestructible Man fame, get together and make Daughter of Dr. Jekyll. Now, they'll call him both things in this film. At some points they call him Dr. Jekyll. Other times they call him Dr. Jekyll. It depends on who's talking, I'm guessing. This film was made in 1957, and Edgar Ulmer, again, remember, is one of those outcast, renegade directors who works on the fringe. Chose not to do this at first, but it was sort of forced upon him by being blacklisted by Universal Studios, and the majors sort of turned back on him. And therefore he was, well, cast into the depths of working in Poverty Row. And actually, he made a number of important films in Poverty Row. Daughter of Dr. Jekyll, or Jekyll, being one of those. Edgar Ulmer we know from Black Cat fame, we know from Bluebeard, we know from Detour, we know from a number of other important films, Man from Planet X, etc. The Amazing Transparent Man. Really does a nice job on this film, along with his cinematographer, John Warren, who also had worked on The Colossus of New York, which, if you remember, that really had a nice look as well. This film stars Gloria Talbot. She is the daughter of Dr. Jekyll, who is called back to her home at the age of 21 to learn a horrible message and learn a horrible lineage being related to that, well, as they all talk about, the legended character Dr. Jekyll and his Mr. Hyde split personality self. And for some reason, this film tries to sell us on the angle that she might inherit this split personality situation herself. Why that's the case, who knows? We know that the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde formulation or split was, well, manifest by some kind of concoction that he imbibed. Well, that seems to kind of be forgotten. Likewise, not only is it a split personality angle, but the Mr. Hyde, or that other evil self, is very much seen as, and they characterize him as, a werewolf. And they even tie him to the moon, etc. Okay, the servants of the place need to get out of there before the moon comes up. And if they don't, whoa, watch out. We might know Gloria Talbot from a number of other places. She was in I Married a Monster from Outer Space. She was also in Cyclops, many westerns, and she was in The Leech Woman. Remember, we've shown The Leech Woman on here as well. Her beau, her fiance, who has to sort of hang around to convince her that you don't have to stop our marriage plans just because you're married to, well, you are the daughter of Dr. Jekyll, is none other than John Edgar. John Edgar. Made some great films, Brain from Planet Horus being one of my favorites of his. Likewise, you know him as Shirley Temple's first husband, breaking in himself in the John Ford films, Ford Apache, etc. Another of John Ford alumnus who's in this film is Arthur Shields. Arthur Shields plays Dr. Lomas, who is the man who has to break the news to Gloria Talbot that she is sort of a bad heritage, if you will. And you know Arthur Shields from Drums Along the Mohawk. You know him from The Quiet Man. He is Barry Fitzgerald's brother, if you remember. And he has a kind of this interesting brittleness about him. Keep an eye on that guy. He's sort of an important character. There's another guy in this film, John Dirks, who plays Jacob in this film. He's sort of a burr under the saddle of the plans that these people play in this film or lay out in this film. You might remember him from a number of places. He has a very distinctive, tall, gaunt look. He was in The Thing from Another World, Howard Hawks' Nibes' The Thing. He was also in Man with X-Ray Eyes, Haunted Palace, which puts him in the Roger Corman camp, and the Omega Man. Okay, remember Omega Man? That's an interesting film. He also, earlier on, was in Abbott and Costello Meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So that Dr. Jekyll business is kind of something that this guy has in his oeuvre. okay, or in his blood, if you will. And you remember Abbott and Costello meet Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. That's when Boris Karloff gets to take on that role of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I think you're going to enjoy this film. The werewolf reference or scene that Mr. Hyde as a werewolf is not really out of the realm of a possibility. The idea of the man who is good, who has this splitted off personality disorder that at certain points manifests in sort of beast-like ways. Even Stevenson has that element of the werewolf. However, of course, in the Stevenson work, it's more troglodyte or more ape-like or simian. Mamoulian, in his 1931 version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, also sees that as beast-like in the ape sense. Likewise, you see it in the John Barrymore version as well, though he has a bit of a kind of an insect type of side about it, kind of a spiderish feel for the John Barrymore situation. There's some great dream sequences in this film, sort of superimposed imagery that really creates a great otherworldly sense. That's really where you get Warren and you get Ulmer working together well, along with their editor, Holbrook Todd, who also worked on his brother's Ghost, which is a Western, and Monster Maker. The three of them really do a wonderful job on this film, and I was quite impressed. The film looks really nice. The film opens interestingly and closes interestingly. Now, a part of me wonders if that was part of the original, if that was added on for drive-in fare. This is an AA film, Allied Artists, and this is very much of a type of product that would end up at the drive-in. And it's a, well, cheesy opening, but I kind of like it. And I like that they repeated at the end. Be on the lookout for that. Sort of like in The Great Train Robbery. Remember in The Great Train Robbery, when they released that film in 1903, they had that great shot of the gunfighter shooting into the camera, and when they released that film, they said, well, you can put that shot either at the beginning or the end. Well, these guys, not what would give you that choice, put it at the beginning and the end on their own, so we're kind of stuck with it. Well, sit back. If you have a mind to, shoot me an email. What you think of this film. I think you're really going to enjoy it. I had a heck of a time with it. It brought back great memories. I remember seeing this film when I was a kid. Daughter of Dr. Jekyll. Remember, I seen Son of Dr. Jekyll. All those, well, siblings and kids and sons of and daughters of. Kind of fun. This is one of the better ones. The daughter of Psycho. Daughter of Dracula. Not bad. Okay. This one, good. And of course, Edgar Ulmer, it's always great to see him working. He is the master, he's the king of the bees, as they say. Well, why don't you roll him, Smokey?